fly free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Qu'on ouvre les portes, let the doors be open. Statements by members, déclaration de députés. The honourable member from Brampton Centre.
Speaker, February is Black History Month. In this month, we celebrate the contribution Black Canadians have made to our society. This year, let's recognize the contributions and achievement of the Honourable Jean Augustine. She was the first Black woman MP and Cabinet Minister. Her motion to recognize February as Black History Month was adopted by this House in 1995. She was a Liberal MP from 1993 to 2006 and served as Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister and as Minister of State for Multiculturalism and Status of Women. She is a role model and inspiration to many Canadians, including myself. I want to thank the Honourable Jean Augustine for making a real difference in our country. Happy Black History Month, everyone. Thank you.
The honourable member from Yorkton Melville.
Canadians breathed a collective sigh of relief last week when the Special Committee on Assisted Death recommended a pause to this government's reckless and radical death-on-demand agenda. Mental illness should have never been considered for an acceptable reason for MAID. Conservatives have been warning this government for years that extending assisted suicide to those with mental illness will lead to the deaths of those who could have recovered. Liberals ignored us, but even worse, they ignored the advice of mental health experts and advocates that it would have further stigmatized mental illness and placing euthanasia ahead of other solutions to these illnesses. Colleagues, it bears repeating that assisted death is not medicine. It is not the personalized treatment that vulnerable people need and deserve. While medical science continues to make leaps and bounds, our lawmakers have made decisions that are increasingly devaluing life. This government must fully abandon their plans to one day permit death on demand for mental illness. Those who are struggling deserve treatment and support, not encouragement to end their lives.
Hear, hear. Monsieur le Président, last week I had the pleasure of welcoming Marcos Farib Subariba Castillo, a student from Karen Wilson Secondary School, along with his parents. It was a particularly significant occasion for him as it marked his very first time at question period and in the House of Commons. As parliamentarian, it gives me great joy to be able to help students like Marcos who choose the co-op program in providing them with work experience through a co-op placement in my constituency office. I want to express my gratitude to cooperative education teachers like Julia Banks from Kieran Wilson, who has gone above and beyond to ensure that students can immerse themselves in a positive work environment. Marco's visit serves as a reminder that our commitment to education and mentorship can have a profound impact on shaping the leaders of today and tomorrow. Thank you.
The
honourable member for Beauport-Limoilou. Ladies and gentlemen, there's just one weekend left to take part in the most beautiful, prestigious, and popular winter carnival in the world, the Quebec City Winter Carnival.
Ça tombe bien.
Good timing. It's the weekend of the Upper Town Parade, so get a move on and come join us, dance and have fun. Shake a leg and marvel at everything made of ice, glass sculptures, and Bonham's Palace even. Hurry up and come out to experience the warm, generous welcome so typical of the 1,500 volunteers, residents, and shopkeepers of Quebec City. A city like none other in North America, host of a carnival like none other in the world. Get a wiggle on and come join us for the 70th Quebec City Winter Carnival. Happy Carnival!
The honourable member from Yukon.
Mr. Speaker, Lucille Hunter was a prospector, business owner, nanny, cook, and the first female honorary member of the Yukon Order of Pioneers for her decades of devotion to mining. She and husband Charles came to the Yukon over the perilous Stikine Trail in 1897, one of only a few black families to make the trek north for gold. Lucille regularly walked over 100 miles from Dawson City to Mayo to manage her mining claims. Helping bring such stories to light is a small organization in my riding called Hidden History Society Yukon, documenting the invaluable contributions of the black community to our territory from the gold rush to today. Meanwhile, we're gearing up for the 11th annual Yukon African Music Festival, organized by Yukoner Leonard Boniface, who's also hosting an international conference on diversity and inclusion. Black History Month recognizes the outstanding contributions of black Canadians around the country, including Canada's North. I encourage Yukoners and all Canadians to learn and get involved in the many community events for Black History Month this February and beyond.
Happy Black History Month. The Honourable Member from Calgary Shepherd.
Athlete, author, thinker, businessman, husband, grandfather. A few of the ways to describe Bill Gardner, who passed away at 83 last month. He won a silver at the decathlon in the 1963 Pan Am Games. He later competed in 1964 at the Tokyo Olympics, 1966 at the Commonwealth Games in Jamaica, and 1970 at Edinburgh. He married his beloved wife Jean in 1979, and they were blessed with 5 children and 16 grandchildren. Bill was also a fearless conservative writer with bestsellers including The Trouble with Canada and The War Against the Family. He co-founded Civitas in 1996, a key forum for conservative thinkers to debate. I want to offer my sincerest condolences to Jean and the Gardner family, to his friends and business colleagues, and to join them in their grief and sorrow. Now, I didn't know Bill personally, but I knew his ideas. I read them. Many conservatives did. So on behalf of a grateful conservative movement, thank you, Bill, for those cherished ideas you gave us. Rest in peace.
The Honourable Member from St. John's East.
Mr. Speaker, the facts are clear. We are there for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. $10 a day childcare saves families an average of $6,300 per child a year. 40,000 Newfoundland and Labradorians receive the Enhanced Canada Workers Benefit. Over 47,000 parents received an average of over $6,000 from the Canada Child Benefit. More than 5,000 kids have accessed the Canada Dental Benefit. 4,300 homes are saving on energy bills from the Greener Homes Grant. 160,000 received the grocery rebate and the doubling of the GST credit. Over $1 billion in federal transfers, including almost $7 million for health care. And let's not forget the pollution price rebate checks for 295,000 individuals or families every 4 months. Our plan is having a positive impact on Newfoundland and Labrador. So I challenge the opposition to be honest and tell the people of the province, what will you cut?
The Honourable Member from Oakville North Burlington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Each February we celebrate Black History Month, when we honor and we recognize the amazing hard work and dedication and challenges of Black Canadians throughout history and beyond. We also celebrate the amazing work of community organizations that provide continued support and guidance to the Black community. The Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton is one of these community organizations whose continued presence and leadership in ensuring that Black history and culture is recognized, shared, and celebrated does not go unnoticed. I'm excited that this year on February 26th with Sheridan College, they will have the public premiere screening of the film Finding Freedom on the 16 at film.ca cinemas in Oakville. Most people are unaware of Oakville's ties to the Underground Railroad, and this film tells the amazing story of former enslaved African Americans from Maryland and Louisiana who fled in search of freedom to the small town of Oakville. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Happy Black History Month. The Honourable Member from Parry Sound, Muskoka.
After 8 years of this Prime Minister, life has never been so expensive. Rent has doubled, mortgages have doubled, new home construction is down again this year, and the housing bureaucrats of this own government predict that it's going to be down again in 2024. This Liberal NDP cost of living crisis is forcing Canadians to choose every month between paying their rent, putting food on the table, and heating their homes. Of course, the Prime Minister is performing in his favorite of plays. He crisscrosses the country, taking pictures, spending even more money, delivering worse results. This out-of-touch Prime Minister is paying city gatekeepers all across Canada for a picture and a promise that they'll do better. An entire generation of Canadians who are locked out of home ownership are living the pain every day of this government's endless empty promises. A Conservative government will ignite action in cities by tying federal funding to housing results, not promises. Only a Conservative government will bring it home.
The honourable member from Sydney, Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to acknowledge the extreme weather emergency in Sydney, Victoria following the unprecedented snowfall of more than 150 centimetres this past weekend. Once again, Cape Bretoners are faced with the impacts of climate change and must persevere. I'd like to thank the first responders, volunteers, employees at Public Works, and all those who have stepped up to help, including the local Coast Guard College. Your efforts are appreciated, and I ask that you continue to lend a hand to your neighbours while helping each other get through this difficult time. Please know that the federal government is providing support, both financial and with human resources, to help with these challenging cleanup efforts. As Liberals, we'll always act in situations of emergency. We're here to support you today, and we'll be there tomorrow, too. Cape Bretoners are known for their kindness, compassion, and willingness to help each other. And because of that, we will get through this together. Thank you.
The honourable member from Cypress Hills, Grasslands.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Liberal NDP government, the Prime Minister is not worth the cost. The Liberals have known for a while now that their carbon tax is a scam, but they refuse to give it up. Their latest idea is to rename it, telling Canadians that it's a good thing that they raise a tax again on April 1st. The Liberals keep ignoring what Canadians have been telling them for years, and they're still offside with their coalition partners in the NDP who voted with Conservatives to at least give farmers some relief from the carbon tax cash grab. Instead of reducing costs for farmers and for the people buying their food by passing Bill C-234, the government would rather work to prevent this tax relief from happening. There's no reason to think that the Liberals are interested in fixing what they have broken. If they get their way, their carbon tax will be higher and higher year after year, even though the minister admitted that he's not measuring whether it's reducing emissions. But Conservatives stand ready to stop this nonsense. Canadians can count on us to axe the tax and bring home the much-needed relief that they deserve.
Yeah! The honourable member from Barrie Innisfil.
Former Speaker of the House of Commons was forced to resign after a scandal that saw an SS soldier recognized in this place last September during President Zelensky's visit. I want to read a few quotes made about the former Speaker during the period that led to his resignation. I can't see, based on the conversations I've had, how he can continue to have the support of Liberal members of Parliament, said the Liberal House Leader in calling for the Speaker to resign. What happened on Friday is completely unacceptable. It was an embarrassment to the House and Canadians, said the Foreign Minister. Yet last week, after months of denial, written evidence in an email came to light that the Prime Minister did, in fact, invite the same SS soldier to a government reception in Toronto. So where is the same condemnation for the Prime Minister from those cabinet ministers and Liberal MPs who threw the former Speaker under the bus? The Prime Minister and his office are guilty of the exact same sin as the former Speaker, and because he is, he deserves the same punishment for embarrassing our nation once again. Like the Speaker before him, the Prime Minister needs to resign.
The honourable member for Châteauguay-Lacroix. Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of talk about the price of food and food waste. In my riding, Complice Alimentaire has come up with an innovative response to these problems. Established in Jardin de Napierville, the organization recovers imperfect fruits and vegetables from local market gardeners, processes them, freezes them, and distributes them through a network of outlets located in municipal and government buildings, as well as other community organizations in my area. The food is made accessible through social pricing. Les Complices has just received funding from Public Health Agency of Canada's Healthy Canadians and Communities Fund. This assistance will be used to document and develop their model so it can be exported elsewhere in Quebec and all across Canada. Mr. Speaker, that's how we're supporting our communities to make them even more resilient and supportive. Thank you.
Honourable member from Edmonton Strathcona.
More than 660 million women and girls are living in conflict zones, a 50% increase in the last 6 years. In Ukraine, 2/3 of those who are internally displaced are women. In Sudan, women make up 69% of those displaced, and 90% of the people crossing into Chad are women and girls. In Afghanistan, a United Nations expert has said 20 years of progress in women and girls' rights has been erased since the Taliban took over, and in Palestine, 70% of the victims in Gaza are women and children. Heartbreakingly, 2 mothers per hour are being killed in Gaza right now. Canadian organizations can alleviate this suffering and promote human rights, yet every year, Canada's investment is a fraction of what we've promised. For Budget 2024, the government must listen to experts, to those 100 organizations who wrote, and do its best to stand up for those around the world that need our support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for La Pointe de l'Île. Mr. Speaker, after the unilingual English Grey Cup scandal, after the field hockey game in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where Punjabi took the place of French, Louis Riel must be turning in his grave. Again this Saturday, Francophones were disrespected at a sporting event. At the National Hockey League All-Star Game in Toronto, the Canadian national anthem was sung in English only. Canada is supposed to have 2 official languages, and its national anthem was originally written in French. All that remained was a tiny snippet they deigned to keep from the original French version. Things have gone too far. It's disrespectful of Francophones and Quebecers. Increasingly, Canada is erasing French from its history and from its symbols. Quebecers feel less and less a part of this country. It's now up to Quebecers to make the decisions that need making. The honourable member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Prime Minister, Canada is facing a meteoric rise in auto theft, which can be directly attributed to the Liberals' soft-on-crime policies. While the Prime Minister prefers to hold summits and discussions, for the past 2 days, the leader of the official opposition has been proposing common-sense solutions to counter this serious problem. First, we're going to amend the criminal code to keep car thieves in jail. We're going to get to the core of the problem and create a new specific aggravating factor when the offense is committed for the benefit of organized crime. We're going to provide CBSA with the equipment and staff they need to do their job properly by increasing the number of border officials. And we'll do it without dipping further into taxpayers' pockets. We invite all parties and MPs to join us in our efforts to combat crime.
The honourable member from Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, as we embark on the Lunar New Year, Asian communities in Richmond Centre and across Canada are ready to join the world to celebrate Spring Festival and welcome the Year of the Dragon. This is the time we gather with friends, families, and loved ones to celebrate this festive season with rich tradition of the lunar calendar. Lunar New Year is an opportunity to celebrate the traditions that enrich Canada's diverse social fabric. Let us take a moment to acknowledge and recognize the contribution of Asian Canadians to Canada, and as we celebrate the Year of the Dragon, I would like to wish everyone a successful, prosperous, and healthy year ahead. And to our communities in Richmond Centre and across Canada, Happy Lunar New Year, Bonne année lunaire, Chak Mang Nam Moi, Sahib Bok Mada Padaseo, Gong Xi Fa Cai, 新年快乐.
Questions. Questions orales. L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. After 8 years, this Prime Minister is not worth the cost of housing. The cost of housing has, in fact, doubled since he promised to make housing more affordable. According to rental.ca, rent has increased by over 20% throughout Canada in just 2 years. That is over $400 more for rent. Will the Prime Minister reverse his policies that caused this crisis? He needs to stop the bureaucrats who are blocking construction, and he needs to bring down deficits and interest rates. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative member for Dufferin-Caledon best described our ambitions when it comes to housing. He said that our housing minister seems to announce a new program or announcement every day. He is absolutely right. We have been working hard week after week. We have reached new agreements through the fund, in the Housing Accelerator Fund, and we have developed new tools to speed up the construction of affordable housing. We will continue to focus on our goal, which is to speed up home building. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Announcements, programs, checks, yet no housing. People cannot live in housing or announcements made by this Prime Minister, who is just not worth the cost. In fact, construction sites have decreased. They have decreased by 28% in December as compared with last December. Will the Prime Minister put an end to these programs which balloon bureaucracy costs and interest rates so that we can truly build housing? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the only thing the Conservative leader is offering is insults. He insults Quebec's elected officials and politicians. He insulted the mayor of Niagara. He uses the homeless as accessories for his own photo ops. A responsible leader, Mr. Speaker, will take action to invest in communities and to invest in housing. That's what we are doing. We removed GST for construction of new rental housing. We also announced funding, including $900 million for Quebec for housing. We are here to invest and to build. He's just here to insult people.
The Opposition.
Monsieur le Président, des centaines de milliers.
Mr. Speaker, hundreds of thousands of dollars are being spent on bureaucracy. We don't need this bureaucracy. The bureaucracy has ballooned by 50% since this Prime Minister took office. What we do need is not bureaucracy, but housing. His housing agency said that we will need 3.5 million housing units. But this week, the CBC said that given our population growth and the drastic drop in construction, we will in fact need 5 million housing units. Where will these 5 million families live? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, he's talking about bureaucracy, but on the contrary, we're investing in municipalities in order to decrease red tape and to speed up home building throughout the country. We have signed about 30 Housing Accelerator Fund deals in order to build more units faster. We are going to increase densification. We're improving zoning. We are speeding up the use of certain lands, and we are increasing affordable housing. We're here to invest in a real and tangible way. Meanwhile, he just wants to insult people.
Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, these are the same promises he made 8 years ago before he doubled housing costs. He's not worth the cost of housing, which is up 100%. In the last 2 years alone, according to rent.ca, the rent is up 20% or $400 for the average family. And now we learn that construction is in free fall, down 28% last December versus the December before. Will he stop funding bureaucracy and driving up interest rates so that we can bring homes Canadians can afford?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Housing ambition can be best summed up by the Conservative member for Dufferin-Caledon, who said that it seems that every day our Minister of Housing has a new program, a new announcement, or a new check for Canadians. That's exactly right, Mr. Speaker. We continue to work hand in hand with Canadians, with municipalities across the country, municipalities he'd rather insult, to get more homes built faster, Mr. Speaker. The investments we're making, including things like taking the GST off purpose-built rental housing, which the Conservatives voted against, will continue to create more homes for Canadians right across the country.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, you can't live in announcements and programs. You need homes that have walls and floors and ceilings. The Prime Minister doing another selfie in front of a construction site won't do that. In fact, construction is down 28% in December after 8 years of this Prime Minister's promises and spending. Will he accept our common sense plan to build homes and not bureaucracy?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, just last week I was in Kitchener-Waterloo making an announcement for the Housing Accelerator Program for Waterloo. And what the Leader of the Opposition seemed to have missed is we were standing in a freshly completed building for seniors that $33 million of funding from the federal government a few years ago allowed to be built today. We are building things today that people are moving into in the coming weeks, and we are announcing how we are building things for tomorrow, as opposed to him who just chooses to insult Canadians, insult mayors, and insult our intelligence.
L'honorable député de Belleuil.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. The government wants to delay by 3 years upholding a court decision regarding medical assistance in dying for mental health. Now, imagine that the Conservatives are elected. All MAID would be totally locked down for a long time. They will never pass MAID, the Conservatives. So this Prime Minister, does he realize that he's acting as if he's afraid of the religious right? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we agree that there is a threat to fundamental rights and freedoms. That is, a Conservative government would be a threat to rights and freedoms. That said, when it comes to medical assistance in dying, it is a difficult and personal decision. We need to ensure that we are protecting the most vulnerable. We must also ensure that we are upholding fundamental rights and freedoms. So, when it comes to mental illness and minors, we will continue to reflect on the matter. We will continue to thoroughly study the matter and to consult before moving forward. The Honourable Leader of the Bloc Québécois. There is a solution, though. Quebec, in fact, put forward a solution which is supported by the National Assembly of Quebec. In the Liberal legislation, there is an element allowing any province, such as Quebec, to move forward with advance requests for medical assistance in dying. So the 3-year extension would be fine in that case because Quebec could move forward based on Quebec's values. Does the Prime Minister support Quebec's request? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as I said, this matter of advance requests was brought up many years ago as being a very important decision we need to make, but a difficult one at that. If a Canadian makes an advance request, saying, for instance, if my health reaches such and such a state, can I have medical assistance in dying? But then the person might not necessarily be able to give free and informed consent. So it's a very difficult decision for us to make and for our society to make. We will continue to work with Quebec. We will continue to reflect on this and study it.
The Prime Minister can learn a lot from the young women I met earlier today who are struggling to put food on the table. They're living a struggle the Prime Minister has never had to face. They're getting ripped off by corporate grocery stores, and the Prime Minister let it happen for over 2 years. So will the Prime Minister get serious now about taking on corporate greed by supporting my bill to reduce the price of groceries?
Hear, hear.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, right now with the Fall Economic Statement, we're proposing significant measures to increase competition in the grocery sector. Many of them ideas that we are in alignment with the Leader of the NDP on. We believe in moving forward in greater competition in the grocery sector. That's something the NDP and the Liberals agree on. It's not something the Conservatives agree on because their chief strategist is actually on the Loblaws payroll. and they choose to continue to promote disinformation and misinformation while they're defending big groceries. On this side of the House, we'll stand up for Canadians.
The honourable member for Burnaby South.
Have a history of letting rich CEOs off the hook. We can change that today.
Hear, hear.
Le Premier Ministre.
The Prime Minister could learn from many of the young women I met with today. They're struggling to make ends meet. They're living a life that they've never lived before. They are being scammed by grocery giants, but the Prime Minister seems to support those grocery giants. So will the Prime Minister vote in favour of my bill to bring down grocery prices? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I am very open to the NDP's efforts to increase competition in the grocery sector. We believe in that. In fact, in our legislation, we have included measures which are parallel to the NDP's measure. We absolutely want to increase competition in the grocery sector. The NDP and the Liberal Party share that desire. The Conservatives, though, they listen to their lobbyists, Loblav's lobbyists. They defend the interests of big grocers rather than defending Canadians and bringing down grocery prices. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Prime Minister, he is not worth the crime. He has caused a lot of car theft. Mark Roos says that his Dodge Ram was stolen, but he put an AirTag in the truck. He was able to find out that the truck was at the Port of Montreal. He knows where it is, but port agencies and port management say that he cannot go and find his Dodge Ram because there aren't enough scanners. Will the Prime Minister accept my common sense plan? Will he buy 24 scanners in order to find this man's Dodge Ram? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, organized crime has caused an increase in car theft throughout Canada. The Conservative Party's attacks on C5 and C75 are absolutely not the solution. Their attacks are not the right way to solve the problem. We will continue to invest. For instance, we have given the Government of Ontario $121 million to fight auto theft. We will also continue to work with the Canada Border Services Agency to increase their staff. We are here to help. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
At ports, after 8 years, the port authorities are only scanning or inspecting 1% of shipping containers leaving our ports, and that led to the case where Mark Roos had his 2021 Dodge Ram stolen. Luckily, he had an Apple AirTag, so he could follow its transit to the Port of Montreal, where he knows it to be. He called both the cops and the Port Authority, both of which said they don't know which box it's in, so they can't find it. So why won't he accept my common sense plan to buy 24 scanners so we can scan the boxes, find the Dodge Ram, and give it back to Mark?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this would be perhaps a little more credible from the Conservative Party if they hadn't cut 1,000 CBSA officers when they were last in government. And they'd proposed to cut 400 more if they had won the 2015 election. The reality is we restored every single border officer they cut and added 800 more. And we're continuing to do the necessary work. We recovered 1,800 stolen vehicles last year. We'll continue to do...
Sorry to interrupt the Prime Minister and to all members. I'm going to ask members please to keep their comments to themselves until they have the microphone or have the floor so that they'll be able to ask their questions or answer their questions. The Honourable Prime Minister has 15 seconds on the clock.
Mr. Speaker, while Conservatives cut frontline border services officers, along with cuts to the RCMP, cuts to police forces across the country, we invested in them, and we're going to continue to do that with $121 million for Ontario, more investments for port and border security. We're going to continue to step up and keep Canadians safe.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
You know, the Prime Minister's strength is not math, but the facts are that we took office. There were about 12,000 working as CBSA officials, and when we left office, there were over 14,000. So 14,000 is more than 12,000 to help the Prime Minister with the numbers. It's true that we cut back office bureaucracy and high-priced consultants, which he has ballooned, and that's why after 8 years, he has increased auto theft by 32%. Will he accept our common sense plan to cut high-priced consultants and hire more front-line inspectors?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I can't help but smile when the Leader of the Opposition talks about high-priced consultants, because it's his campaign being run by a high-priced consultant for Loblaws. When he stands in this place and across the country wrenching his heartstrings about the prices that Canadians are paying for groceries, when his top advisor is in the pocket of Loblaws giving him the same talking points as she gives Galen Weston when he appeared at Parliamentary Committee. Mr. Speaker, if Canadians are going to believe this Leader of the Opposition, he needs to come clean with who is funding his organizations.
Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He's sure getting desperate if he has to blame Conservative campaign workers for the fact that he raised food prices, especially when, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's new marketing director, Max Veliket, did marketing for Loblaws for 4 years. Don Guy, the Prime Minister's chief pollster, works for GT & Co., which collects checks from Loblaws. As does Dan Arnold, his other pollster, getting checks from Loblaws. Are they the ones that forced him to quadruple the carbon tax on our food?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Order. I know it's Wednesday, and members are very keen to hear the answer to this question, so I'll ask them to please restrain themselves while the Right Honourable Prime Minister answers the question. Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, you can tell it's Wednesday because this morning the members of the Conservative caucus got to hear directly from Jenny Byrne, who sits in their caucus with them, giving them advice. So that is exactly where they're coming. When she is actively on the Loblaws payroll, while at the same time feeding lines to the Leader of the Opposition about food prices and concocting a theory around carbon price and grocery prices that, as the member from Regina Louvain pointed out yesterday, has no basis in fact, we see the kind of torque he chooses to pull.
There. That's not so hard. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, he makes it too easy. He talks about caucus meetings and Loblaws. Get this. The Prime Minister had someone who is his Director of Caucus Services named Julie DeWolf, who is now a lobbyist for Loblaws. Not only that, he digs up a lot of dirt. His chief dirt digger, Kevin Bosch, left his office so that he could go and work as a lobbyist for Loblaws. Would he like us to continue going down the list of all of his Loblaws lobbyists, Mr. Speaker?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
It is quite something to watch the flailing of the Conservatives right now as they do anything to try to distract from the fact that their campaign manager, the leader of the opposition's top advisor is and still gets contributions and paychecks from Loblaws. This is an issue. When he has stood up and pretended to care about food prices, when we hear the exact same talking points come out of Galen Weston's mouth as out of the leader of the opposition's mouth on some invented connection between the price on pollution and grocery prices, we know exactly who is behind the Conservative Party.
Madame.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Former Minister Lametti and other Liberal colleagues gave some thought to the possibility of opening up the Canadian Constitution. Well, Quebec is considering something, a referendum. That's a major word. We are considering a referendum on repatriating all immigration-related authorities and powers to Quebec. So should the Prime Minister give Quebec back the authorities and powers that it deserves so that we can have immigration as we want it? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, all countries' federal governments are responsible for immigration. Canada's federal government handles borders and immigration. But we have, for a long time, recognized the special situation of Quebec and the need to promote and protect Quebec's language and culture. We have given Quebec powers that no other province has so that Quebec can defend itself. We will continue to work with Quebec on immigration. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Okay, so we agree then. Quebec should become its own country and have all of these powers. Now, the Prime Minister and his ministers say that they are working hand in hand with Quebec. The immigration minister says that they're working hand in hand with Quebec, but the Quebec immigration minister wants to hold a referendum to give Quebec all control over its own immigration. So does that not testify to, is that not a testament to the failure of the immigration system and the immigration minister? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are continuously reminded of the fact that the Bloc Québécois is always looking for squabbles between Quebec and Canada. They're always looking to bring up referendums. Here's the truth, though, Mr. Speaker. We are working hand in hand with the government of Quebec, and we have been doing so for decades. Ottawa and Quebec have been working together well for decades in order to manage immigration, to ensure that immigration targets are appropriate for Quebec. We will continue this work respectfully, without any squabbles, despite what the Bloc wishes. The Honourable Opposition Leader.
The crime, Mr. Speaker. He unleashed the car theft crisis by bringing in house arrest and bail, not jail, for repeat career car thieves, and by allowing our ports to become sieves where our cars are stolen from, so much so that we're now becoming world famous for the Prime Minister's failures. The Ghana Economic and Organized Crime Offices, we are in possession of stolen vehicles. The victims, it's all in Canada. No Canadian agency has approached us directly or made a formal complaint. Will he take the money from the back office bureaucrats and consultants and put it into frontline law enforcement to protect our car?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition likes to make base political accusations. He likes to talk about C5 and C75 as the reason there is auto theft in this country. The reality is C5 is the bill that keeps mandatory minimum penalties for car theft on the books, and C75 is the bill that raises the maximum penalty on car theft. We've continued to step up in terms of keeping Canadians safe. We will continue to invest in the CBSA and in the resources necessary to counter these challenges. We will keep working based on facts and evidence, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, here are the actual facts. Let's go through them. C5 keeps mandatory prison sentences. Mr. Speaker, they were already in place, put there by the previous Conservative government. They weren't created by C5. What C5 did is it brought in house arrest for career car thieves so they can watch Netflix or perhaps play Grand Theft Auto in their living room and then go out onto the street and steal another car whenever they want. Will he follow my common sense plan to end house arrest for career car thieves?
Yeah. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in the Leader of the Opposition's simplistic worldview, someone sitting on their couch at home playing video games goes out and steals an Escalade. That's not what happens, Mr. Speaker. Organized crime is directly involved in the massive spike in auto thefts in this country. That's why what we're stepping up on in investment in anti-organized crime, investments against money laundering that party voted against, investments in more powers and more resources for Ontario to counter auto theft, and indeed more resources for the CBSA that they cut when they last left office will continue to be there.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, actually, people do steal cars when they're on house arrest because all they have to do is open the door and walk out and steal the car. Then there's his bail policy, which allowed the same 40 offenders to be arrested 6,000 times in Vancouver in a year, many of them car thieves. So, will he accept my common sense plan to get rid of house arrest and bring in jail, not bail, for career car thieves? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in all the questions the Leader of the Opposition asked about car theft, he hasn't once mentioned organized crime, which is the cause of car theft in this country right now. And that's why perhaps he's not mentioning it because when we brought forward measures to counter organized crime and money laundering, the Conservative Party voted against them. We moved forward with more resources for Ontario, $121 million to counter organized crime and car theft. The Conservative Party voted against. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to anchor ourselves in facts and data and deliver on keeping Canadians safe.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he wants facts. Here's another fact. Extortions are up 218% since he took office. Why? Because he got rid of mandatory jail time for extortion with a weapon. So now he allows extortionists to go around with guns, harassing small business owners in Brampton, in Surrey, in Calgary, and Edmonton, where horror stories are unfolding. Will he agree to our common sense plan to reverse catch and release so that Canadians are safe from extortion?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, the situation faced by far too many people across this country around extortion from organized crime is unacceptable, and that is why we are taking action directly with the RCMP and local police forces to counter it. But once again, we see Conservatives falling into the same far-right American trap in their approach on crime that doesn't work, that doesn't keep Canadians safe, that it sounds good in sound bites and attacks, but doesn't actually deliver safer communities. It's like their opposition to gun control and their desire to put assault-style weapons back on the streets. They don't keep Canadians safe. The work we does.
So I'd like to, colleagues, before you saw a hesitation in the previous round when the Speaker was a little confused as to who was going to be speaking next, as it turns out, we had deprived the Leader of the Opposition a question. I don't know if the Leader of the Opposition wants it now or would he like it in the next round? He'll take it right now. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, let's talk about the cold, hard facts. There were 2/3 less cases of extortion in the last year of the common sense Conservative government than there are today. In the 10 years we were in office, the number of car thefts fell by half. And that was because we targeted the worst offenders, kept them in prison, we secured our ports, and stopped organized crime. The Prime Minister has only multiplied crime with his catch and release policies. Will he follow the evidence and reinstate a common sense criminal justice?
I hate to interrupt the honourable member, and I don't know if it was picked up on the mics, but I did pick up some language which is unparliamentary, and I'll ask all members to please watch themselves. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what we hear from the Leader of the Opposition is under the previous Conservative government, everything was perfect, and what he is proposing to do is to make Canada great again. That is not what Canadians want. He is pining for a nostalgia that, quite frankly, Canadians do not feel. They remember what he did as part of Stephen Harper's failed housing minister. He remembers the rights of Indigenous peoples violated, the ignoring of environmental responsibilities, and the lack of an environmental and economic plan for the future. We're going to continue.
The honourable member from Port Moody, Coquitlam.
Canadians with disabilities are being treated unfairly by big airlines, and the Liberals' solution? Another gentleman's meeting with a CEO who only cares about his own bottom line. This is a slap in the face to passengers who've had their human rights violated, having to drag themselves off a plane. Like with the greedy grocery CEOs, the Liberals are just letting Air Canada get away with it. Will the Prime Minister get serious about holding these CEOs to account to protect Canadians?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we will continue to be there to protect vulnerable Canadians. We'll continue to make sure that areas of federal jurisdiction like airlines continue to meet all their responsibilities and obligations toward Canadians. This is something we take extraordinarily seriously, and we will continue to ensure that all airlines are respecting Canadians and their rights.
The honourable member from Nunavut.
The Liberals are skirting their responsibility by underfunding the non-insured health benefits that provides dental care, eye care, mental health, and medical travel for Nunavut. Their actions are forcing Nunavut to divert funds to this program instead of their own health priorities. The Liberals need to step up. Their failure to live up to their responsibilities to Nunavut is unacceptable. Will the Prime Minister commit to its obligations to ensure Nunavut have the health care they are owed?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, just a few weeks ago, I was in Iqaluit to talk to the Premier of Nunavut, PJ Ahiaguk, to talk about how we can continue to be partners as we move forward and ensure the strength and opportunities for all Nunavummiut. This is what we're continuing to do, whether it was celebrating the historic devolution agreement that we made possible, or looking at further supports, including non-insured health benefits. We will continue to be there for the people of Nunavut. We will continue to be there for people of the North.
Hear, hear. The honourable member from Kitchener-Conestoga.
Mr. Speaker, last week the government announced that eligible Canadian residents aged 72 and older can now apply for a dental care. Over 500,000 applicants have been approved for the Canadian Dental Care Program, making dental care more affordable and accessible. This is great news for seniors in Kitchener-Conestoga and across Canada, as more and more seniors have access to affordable dental care. Can the Prime Minister please update us on the Canadian Dental Care Plan that will help seniors smile and be an important part of overall health?
The Right Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know the member for Kitchener-Conestoga is passionate about ensuring seniors and kids get access to dental care. I'm happy to announce that in the first few weeks, over 600,000 seniors have successfully signed up for the Canadian Dental Care Plan. While the Conservative Party voted against funding dental care to those who need it most, we want to reassure Canadian seniors that on this side of the House, we will always have their backs, we'll fight for them, and we'll make sure that that leader never cuts essential supports to seniors.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After 8 years, the Prime Minister is not worth the cost of housing, which has doubled since he promised to lower it. Now we have a brand new phenomenon of the middle-class homeless. In fact, according to the Executive Director of the Royal Canadian Legion of Nova Scotia, members of the Canadian Forces are now forced to live in tents, in cars, and to couch surf. There are 30 homeless encampments in Halifax after 8 years of this Prime Minister. But why would the Prime Minister then plan to go ahead with a $450 a year rent increase to our armed forces members who are already forced to live in tents?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, military members and their families are a priority, and we're taking steps to ensure that they are supported. We're investing $445 million over the coming years to tackle the supply of military housing. And when the Conservatives had an opportunity to support our military personnel, they chose not to. The Conservatives stood up in this House and voted against supporting our men and women in uniform just last December.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that is an outrageous non-response to the men and women who put their lives on the line for this country. He rewards them with a tent or a couch in someone else's basement to sleep in. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, there's a 177% increase in Bagotville and a 261% increase in the wait line for military housing. And now he plans a $450 rent increase on the people who protect our country. Shouldn't he be ashamed of himself?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we'll take no lessons from the Conservatives who nickel and dimed our military service members and veterans through 9 years of their time in office and even dropped military funding to below 1% of GDP, Mr. Speaker. We will continue to step up, including with $445 million for military housing in the coming years as we continue to honor and support the women and men who serve our country with their lives.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Honors them with a tent to live in. He honors them with a $450 increase in their rent. Before this Prime Minister, we didn't have masses of military members living in tent cities, Mr. Speaker. They could put a roof overhead. In fact, we didn't have 30 tent cities in Halifax. We didn't have 2 million people lined up at food banks in lines that are reminiscent of the Great Depression. We didn't have young people forced to wait till they're age 40 to get a home. The good news is life was not like this before this Prime Minister, and it won't be like this after he's gone.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Why doesn't he just say it straight out, Mr. Speaker? He's planning to make Canada great again. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, Canada is great. Canada is the best country in the world. And yes, there are challenges, and that's why we're stepping up to invest, whether it's $445 million for military housing, whether it's stepping up with dental care for vulnerable seniors or youth, whether it's cutting child care fees in half, Mr. Speaker, whether it's continuing to step up for vulnerable youth. We are going to be there for Canadians while he proposes cuts to services, cuts to programs, and cuts to the supports that Canadians need.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
That's what the Prime Minister has to say to the 2 million people lined up around street corners clamoring for the food bank after 8 years. That things are just going great. To the people in Montreal who've seen their rent quadruple after his 8 years, life is just great for them too. To the Torontonians who have to spend 25 years now saving up for the down payment on the average home, he says things are just great. How can he possibly fix the misery he caused if he can't even realize that it's right in front of his face?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition may not think that Canada is the best country in the world, but we do. And the reality is we recognize Canadians are struggling right now. And that is why we continue to invest in supports for them, whether it's cutting childcare fees in half, whether it's investing in the kinds of jobs and careers we're going to need in the #1 battery supply chain country in the world, in drawing in significant investments right across the country, in moving forward into a brighter economic future, while we recognize that Canadians need support now. He offers fear and cuts while we offer support and a brighter future. That's what we're going to continue.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the federal government owes $470 million to Quebecers for welcoming asylum seekers, that Ottawa is responsible for. The amounts announced for hosting future asylum seekers is fine, but it doesn't pay back the federal debt that has accumulated since 2021. The Minister of Immigration always ends up using insults when it's talked about. We want to find out what's happening. It's essential to continue to provide the services to asylum seekers. Can the Prime Minister finally pay back the money he owes Quebecers? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I've often said in the House that Quebecers have demonstrated a commitment and a generosity that is quite significant to the vulnerable people coming to Canada, and we are grateful for that. We are here to assist and to invest in Quebec in order to allow these people to come here. We recognize that this has led to additional costs, not only for the Quebec government, but for social services and community organizations, and that is why we are working on an ongoing basis with Quebec to ensure that we recognize these sacrifices and these efforts and that we thank them and they are compensated for that. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister must also ensure a fair distribution of asylum seekers. Quebec's intake capacity has been exceeded. Out of 289,000 asylum seekers in Canada, Quebec has proven that 160,000 are in their jurisdiction. That's 55% of the total. The Quebec's Minister of Immigration said yesterday that she wanted to hold a referendum on the repatriation of all immigration powers. She's so exasperated by the federal government's inaction. Does the Prime Minister understand that when there's talk of a referendum, it's perhaps time for him to wake up? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, for many years, Quebec has had the challenge of dealing with Roxham Road, and we have worked with the Quebec government as well as with the government of the United States, and we have resolved that issue. There are new issues with regard to the airports, but we are going to be here to help the Quebec government and Quebecers to deal with that situation. We will always do that in partnership. It's just the bloc that is looking for squabbles and referendums. We'll always be here to work hand in hand in all due respect with the government of Quebec. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Is not worth the cost of food after 8 years of the NDP Liberal carbon tax. It's caused food prices to rise 20% in the last 2 years alone. So much for the affordable food they promised when they signed their coalition with the NDP leader. So much so that the Canada Food Bank is now forced to cut in half the number of potatoes that they're giving out. It's too expensive and there's too much demand. Instead of just telling those people who are eating half as much in Canada that things are great, why won't he follow our common sense plan to axe the tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as the member for Regina Louvain recognized yesterday, there is absolutely no data to support any link between our price on pollution and higher grocery prices. There simply is none. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we are a government anchored in evidence and data, and we will continue to be there to deliver things like a grocery rebate to Canadians, to put more money back in Canadians' pockets, even as we put a price on pollution with the carbon price rebate, and we will continue to defend Canadians' interests against the cuts proposed by that Conservative.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He wants to know the link between the carbon tax and the food price. Well, I'll help him out. So farmers use something called diesel. It goes in their tractors and combines and drying machines. It goes in their off-farm fuels that pay the carbon tax, on which he wants to quadruple the tax. Then the truckers who pick up the food, transport it to the grocery store, pay the carbon tax. Then the grocer pays the carbon tax to power the heat in that big Olympic stadium size chamber we call a grocery store. If he doesn't get the link, how is he ever going to fix the problem?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The problem with the story that the Leader of the Opposition just told is there's absolutely no data to support it. He is all about political attacks. He is all all about inventing reasons to not take action on the fight against climate change because his Conservative Party still doesn't understand that you cannot have a plan for Canadians' future or the future of the economy if you don't have a plan to fight climate change. Not only are we fighting climate change, Mr. Speaker, we're putting more money back in the pockets of Canadians and building the economy of the future.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, speaking of no evidence, we actually filed an order paper question asking for proof that his carbon tax is reducing emissions, and it came back that there was no evidence. For 8 years in government, after years of raising the tax, they have no proof that it reduces emissions at all. But we know it increases food prices, and this is why Canada's food professor said, I'm recommending a pause on the carbon tax for the entire food industry from farm gate to store and restaurants. If the Prime Minister doesn't have the common sense to axe the tax, will he listen to the food professor and cancel his plan to hike it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is actually reducing its emissions faster than our G7 partners, largely because we put a price on pollution. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition wants to make pollution free again. We do not think that is the right path for Canada. We know that investing in reduction of carbon emissions while putting more money back in Canadians' pockets, switching from home heating oil to heat pumps, moving forward in responsible ways as we're investing in supporting Canadians is the way to build a stronger future, but he proposes ideology, cuts, and fear tactics, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Laval-les-Îles. Mr. Speaker, since 2015, the government has made the battery sector a priority in terms of development, and we are seeing results with the creation of hundreds of millions in investments in thousands of well-paid jobs. Can the Prime Minister inform the House of the progress that has been achieved? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I want to thank the member for Laval-les-Îles for his important question and his hard work. While the Conservative leader doesn't even believe in climate change, we are taking steps with historic investments in the electrification of cars. So we are investing every day in talent and workers from here. And it's working, Mr. Speaker. Canada is today the leader, the world leader in the manufacturing of lithium-ion batteries, while the Conservative leader would cut those investments. We are proud to invest in Canada and Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it's been 8 years since this costly Prime Minister took office, but it was 2 years ago that he signed a deal with the NDP leader where in the latter promised that it would bring more affordable food. Since that time, the NDP and Liberals have helped raise food prices by 20%. Their favorite inflationary instrument is the carbon tax. Now they plan to quadruple the carbon tax on the farmer who produces the food and the trucker who ships the food, and therefore all who buy the food. The Canada's food professor is calling for a cap on the carbon tax. Will the Prime Minister cancel his 23% carbon tax hike for April 1st?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, once again, we heard in Parliamentary Committee yesterday absolutely no evidence, no data to support the Leader of the Opposition's contention that the price on pollution impacts on grocery prices. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, our price on pollution returns 4 times a year more money to 80% of Canadians in the areas where it is in play than it costs them. That's how we can both fight against climate change and put more money in the pockets of Canadians. The Leader of the Opposition is proposing to take away those 4 times a year rebate checks from Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the NDP also promised affordable housing when they sold out their constituents and signed on to a coalition with the Leader of the Liberals. But since that time, the rent is up well over 20% as they fund more bureaucracy to block homes and deficits that drive up interest rates, so much so that Tim Chen, a student in Vancouver, actually needs to commute to university from Calgary. Yes, he has to fly back to Calgary where he can afford the rent under a Conservative government, and then fly over to Vancouver in a commute in order to study. Mr. Speaker, how crazy is it that you have to commute across?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition likes to talk about the challenges Canadians are facing, and while we're busy solving them, he's proposing nonsensical solutions. Let's talk about the Conservative Leader's housing plan. It won't build homes fast enough, it doesn't reach enough cities, and it creates unnecessary bureaucracy. He'll also rip up our housing accelerator agreements, which are unlocking 500,000 new homes, and he'd put the GST back on apartment construction. Housing experts like Mike Moffat say his plan is exceptional weak, and a sign that, quote, the Conservatives don't understand the scale of the housing crisis. We'll take no less.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the results speak for themselves. When I was the housing minister, rent was $950. It's now over $2,000. When I was the housing minister, the average mortgage payment on a newly purchased home was $1,400. It's now over $3,500. And my common sense plan would require cities permit 15% more home building as a condition of getting federal money, require they build housing around transit stations rather than having empty fields there, and sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build. Why won't he build homes instead of building bureaucracy?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The reality is Canadians just can't trust Conservatives and their attacks and their talking points. Why? Because an active, paid lobbyist is the one giving them all their advice on how to win their campaign. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, the big business and money behind the Conservative Party is once again driving their agenda as they propose cuts to vulnerable Canadians, underinvestments in housing, and no solution to the very real challenges Canadians are facing. They're in the pocket of big business, as evidenced by Jenny Byrne's work for Loblaws.
The Honourable Member from Winnipeg South Centre.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday, after months of debate in this House, albeit without the support of a single member of the Conservative Party, we voted to advance the new Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement. President Zelensky and the thousands of Canadian Ukrainians I represent in my riding of Winnipeg South Centre expect our government to be there for them, and we have been every step of the way. Can the Prime Minister tell Canadians why this deal is important for Ukraine and Canada, and will he reaffirm Canada's unwavering support for our ally as it fights to defend the interests of democracies around the world? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the President of Ukraine asked us for a modernized Ukrainian free trade deal with Canada that would deal with investments, digital services, a range of things that are necessary for Ukraine's reconstruction and recovery from the war. The Conservative leader yesterday again shamelessly strong-armed his MPs representing Ukrainian communities to betray them and play straight into Putin's hands. On this side, Mr. Speaker, the members for Winnipeg South Centre, Etobicoke Centre, Kingston the Islands, University Rosedale, Winnipeg South, Markham Thornhill, Scarborough Southwest, Anticartierville, and the entire Liberal caucus.
The Honourable Member from Courtenay, Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians spend over $1 billion out of their own pocket on mental health services every year. And with the cost of everything only going up, Canadians are making the difficult choice. Do I put food on the table or go get the therapy I need? The Liberals promised $4.5 billion in mental health funding, but they're still well over $1 billion short, even with the bilateral agreements. Our communities need support, and it can't be left to Conservative premiers. So will the Prime Minister commit to delivering direct mental health funding to community-based mental health organizations in the upcoming budget?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm certain that the member for Courtenay, Alberta is not proposing that we work around the outstanding government of the province of British Columbia. We're working hand in hand with them to deliver mental health services across the country with our historic health accords worth $200 billion that include significant transfers for mental health and accountability so Canadians can see real results. We are moving forward on stepping up on making sure that Canadians have proper access to mental health health care, but we will do it in partnership with the provinces who want to and with clear data from the provinces who are resistant. We need to make sure we're delivering mental health right across the country.
The honourable member from Spadina, Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, whistleblower information from HSBC documents show rampant mortgage fraud by people using fake high salaries from fake jobs in China to get mortgages and buy houses in Canada. How is it possible for a person with no income to buy 4 houses? These frauds fuel real estate bubbles, and they support FinTrack findings on Chinese money laundering and Canadian real estate. How can the Prime Minister make housing more available and affordable when fraudsters are buying up multiple homes? Why is his government ignoring the damage created by money laundering and mortgage fraud in Canada?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, just a few days ago, we reinforced and extended our foreign home buyers ban to make sure that homes in Canada are used by Canadians to live in, not as investment vehicles for foreign entities or foreign owners. This is part of our broad plan that invests in more housing, that increases supply, and ensures that families are able to afford the future they want to build for their kids in their communities right across the country. We're stepping up on housing. We will continue to do so while the Conservatives have no plan.
Right. I wish to draw to the attention of members in the presence of the gallery of Mr. Ville Tavio, Minister for Foreign Trade and Development for Finland. In addition, in recognition of Black History Month, I also wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of Zinana Kande, the first Black woman to serve as a cabinet minister in Canada. Point of order, the Honourable Government House Leader. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Discussions amongst the parties, and if you seek it, I believe, or at least I hope, Mr. Speaker, you will find unanimous consent to adopt the following motion, that notwithstanding any standing order or usual practice of the House, for today's sitting, the ordinary hour of daily adjournment shall be midnight, and after 6:30 p.m. no quorum calls, dilatory motions, or requests for unanimous consent shall be received by the Chair, and when no member wishes to speak on the motion for a second reading stage of Bill C-62, an act to amend the Criminal Code, medical assistance in dying, number 2, or at midnight, whichever is earlier, the debate on the said motion shall be deemed adjourned. The House shall adjourn until the next sitting day, and the debate pursuant to Standing Order 38 shall not take place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. There is no unanimous consent. Point of order, the honourable member from Caribou, Kamloops Thompson.
Mr. Speaker, it's always a pleasure to rise on behalf of the people from Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou. Now, during question period, the Prime Minister said people just don't leave on house arrest and steal a vehicle. Well, I would like to table
I already heard the no's coming from members. No, I heard no. Comme il est 15h21.
It being 3:21, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion to concur in the 15th report of the Standing Committee on Finance concerning the extension of time to consider Bill C-323, an act to amend the Excise Tax Act, Mental Health Services. Call in the members.